Yo. So, a couple years ago, I spent an unreasonable amount of time searching through YouTube videos, specifically a lot in the philosophy area, to try to figure out the meaning of life. And usually when the night would get later and later and I realize I've wasted 5 or 6 hours straight of my life, heading straight for the grave, I would really hope that one of those videos in the sidebar, one of those recommended, would be that final purpose that would tie everything together. I was hoping to find the meaning of life on YouTube. And I will tell you that you won't. It's not possible. I didn't realize this at the time. But anyway, that's how it is, and I would like to tell you why. The meaning of life, I also hate the term. I feel like a boomer. Ugh. Like a hippie or something. Oh my goodness. Anyway, the thing that will drive your life the entire way through is not some set of rules that you understand logically. You can learn a lot from logic, and you can learn a lot from following a specific set of rules to live as virtuously as possible. But ultimately, that spark that lies deep within the heart is something that you will come to know through the knowledge that comes only with experience. Experience of life, experience of pain, experience of joy, all these sorts of things. Human experience. So, the first thing that comes to mind when I try to actually give people advice on finding purpose is to convince yourself that it's not all in futility. And why is this an important point? You're already looking for, well, okay, hold on a second, and think about the society that we live in, because man, do we live in one heck of a society. The zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, is that there is no point to anything. Everything is just so meaningless. Let's like watch the billionth season of Rick and Morty and smoke weed and drink our corn syrup and never work out, man. Yeah, okay. So, that's, not particularly useful for creating any sort of virtue in the human experience. But my one point to counteract this is, okay, if everything sucks all the time, how did people live before they had air conditioning and Avengers movies? People in significantly more difficult periods of history who actually lived, well, challenging lives and weren't, spending their entire day scrolling through Reddit and drinking soy lattes, they actually found purpose amid their difficulties and their sufferings. People who endured things like plagues and wars. And some of them actually wrote about it. And we could potentially read it. We have the biggest wealth of information available to us, for better or worse, in human history, as far as we know. Who knows? Maybe the Atlanteans had something bigger. I don't know. But we have access to thousands and thousands of years worth of philosophy, theology, artwork, music, and it's kind of on us to actually start digging through it. It's also common sense. If someone in the past was able to find some sort of a purpose, why can't we from reading their work? We can get a little bit of a window into their mind, how it worked. So, go ahead, do that. Do some exploring. Personally, I recommend learning about Stoics and Eastern Christian mystics. I liked some aspects of Taoism as well, some aspects of Zen. I, of course, love reading about the ancient mythologies. Specifically, Greek mythology fascinates me quite a lot, but I've also been a pretty big fan of a couple other. Canaanite mythology is extremely interesting and a little bit horrifying. And besides just this, besides just focusing on our philosophies and our theologies, we should also not get too stuck up in the idea of trying to find things out through logic, because like I said, this all comes back to experiential wisdom. We need to actually build up experience, and I think one of the quickest ways to start kind of gaining that unexplainable understanding of the world is through artwork. Artwork, music, things like this. So go ahead, start looking through and genuinely giving a lot of thought into looking at some of the great Renaissance painters, some of the great sculptors of antiquity, things like that. And music as well. Don't be afraid to just start exploring ancient religious chants, ancient folk music, classical music, things like this. Because, like I said, if these artworks and music pieces were made by people in a time when it was more common to believe that there was purpose and there was meaning to things rather than today's world in which we are told that there is none, well, maybe we can learn. We can get like I said, a view into these people's minds when we actually see their art and music, the same way as when we see their philosophy. Although, I would recommend a bit of caution, especially when we're diving into philosophies and mythologies. There's certain ways of living and certain understandings of the world that can lead us to tranquility, enlightenment, and there's others that can lead us towards insanity, despair, things like this. So I would recommend to notice and try to observe where each sort of lifestyle and philosophy will lead us in the future. And you can gain that in part by seeing how did major people who followed this philosophy, where did their lives end up going? Consider that. I generally would recommend avoiding anything in the occult, and the only reason I can say why is my own experiential wisdom. It's no good. And at the end of our journeys, regardless of what path we take, whether a good one or a bad one, at the end of it lies a leap of faith, and so we will need to learn to commit ourselves to something, even if it isn't something that we can fully make sense of just through logic, because, like I've said, there's nothing that can really be made sense of only through logic. For logic to work, you have to make presuppositions. And so, there's your leap of faith. What are going to be your fundamental axioms that you build up everything else on top of? And most importantly is, don't expect enlightenment overnight. That's not within the realm of human experience. People who live by an honest philosophy, an honest religion, an honest way of life, are going to spend their entire life on this journey. It's not going to be a one and done experience where you decide to believe a set of rules and then all of a sudden everything just makes sense. It's going to be an understanding that's going to continually grow throughout your entire life and become deeper and more profound. And we can increasingly, walking this path, increasingly come towards transcendence and a profound understanding of the beauty of humanity's place in the cosmos. So, that's pretty much it. Just because things don't make sense today doesn't mean they never will. So, explore, learn about different stuff. Develop a sense of wonder at just how much intricacy there is in everything around you. You'll do fine. You'll figure it out. Don't worry.